Hey guys, this is Tulip with Lone Star Overland. And we're back in the shop today, and we have a special guest, Derek, for one of my sponsors, Nightstick. He brought along the Nightstick overlanding rig, and we're going to be changing out his brake booster. So stick with us, and let's get to it. Alright guys, so we should be able to do this without taking off the master cylinder. I've done this before in my 95FJ80. This is a similar setup with the FJ80. So the only difference here is that the vacuum valve on this thing is on the passenger side of the brake booster versus the driver's side. So same premise here. So Derek is working on taking these bolts out. They're 14 millimeters, so we got a little wobble socket, or actually a wobble extension to help it move around a little bit easier. And
come on. Man, I just can't get it on there.
all right, Derek's already got the pin out of the brake lever. Now he's working on the 4 14 millimeter bolts that are holding the bracket for the brake booster on the firewall.
Extension.
All right, hang on. All right, so now that you can see we got the vacuum line off, all the bolts are, or the nuts are off, all the 12 millimeter nuts, and he's pulled it out. Now, just be careful here. You don't want to bend these brake lines out of the way or keep them, so you want to be really super easy. So let's move this out of the way. Try to just, if you can set this out of the way anyway. All right, can you, I've got that. All right, cool. So see how easy that was without having to go and remove the lines.
That gasket's shot.
Yeah, it sure is.
That's a factory. That's 30 years. That's pretty good.
Yeah, it's not bad. So anyway, so you can see guys right here. So you want to make sure that you're easy with these brake lines because you can kink them. You just want to slightly move out of the way, and sometimes, yes, you do need another set of hands like you just saw, but that way it makes it a ton easier. You don't have to worry about bench bleeding the master cylinder again and you know, bleeding the whole braking system. So anyway, let's go ahead and keep working on getting this thing done. All right guys, let's do a side by side here. All right, so this is the OEM factory unit, and this is most likely the original unit to the rig. So the next thing we have to do here, actually let's take a step back for a second. So you can see how the gasket's pretty worn out.
Shot.
Yeah, shot is a better word, but
that gasket is
gone. It's donezo, man. So what we need to do now is we need to take
count.
Yeah, we need to count. You can see here the threads, they're pretty dirty, but you can see here we want to take this, because this is what mounts to our brake lever, or brake arm I should say, in the cruiser itself. So what we've got to do, we want to make sure that we have the right amount of space on the threads when we transfer it over here. So what we want to do is we got to take this, put it over here, and the one way we do it is we go ahead and we back this nut off. But first, before we do it, we've got to count the threads. So Derek's going to go ahead and count those threads, and then we'll get that bracket taken off. All right, so we're going to count these threads here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Let's go and do it one more time just to make sure. So 1, 11. I'm counting 12, but still one more. So did you start here or you start here?
I started as low as I could.
All right, so that I'm counting that as a thread. Oh, as a ridge. 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10, 11. That's 12 to me. All right, guys. So one way that you can take this bracket off this brake booster is go ahead and use, see how Derek did that? You can usually go ahead and use a screwdriver that'll fit right through there, and then take a 14 millimeter nut in back, or wrench and back this off. Now, if Derek won't drop it, we'll go ahead and we'll take that nut, that adjuster nut, off there, and we're going to take it off. So anyway, we put this back on your new brake booster,
and then we'll count it.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and we're going to go all the way down here, and then we'll go ahead and put the lever here on, the bracket on. All right, so let's go ahead and get it. Let's count the threads. So remember, threads are important here, so that's where we need to go ahead and we need to count the threads. That's what Derek's doing now. So we counted 11's where we counted. So depending if you start here or if you start here. So if it's starting from there, then it's going to be 12. So let's go ahead and do that.
1, 2. I think that's 11.
All right.
So of course we're double checking each other's work.
Let's try to work. 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's 11. Yep. All right. You can see now that we moved this bracket over, we've cinched it down, make sure that we had the right amount of threads, same count, which was 11. Could be different for your rig, so make sure before you, on the original booster that you're changing, make sure you count those threads. That's important because that's how much throw you're going to have, and you want to match the same thing on the new booster. So let's go ahead and get this thing back in. All right, be sure to go ahead and if any kind of dirt or anything is there, go ahead and take the time to clean that surface off. That's where you're going to put that gasket on the back side of your new brake booster. Okay, so there's only one way that this gasket can go. So it's all, you'll see right there that it's offset. Let's go ahead and get that on. All right, that fits right there. Okay, and again, this is where, just check, one last check for your thread count there, because that determines the throw you're going to have on your brake pedal. So, okay, here we go. All right, and so Derek's going to go ahead and put this in. I'm going to hold the cylinder for him. Let's go ahead and get that in there. Okay, there you go. Just need a little bit of adjustments. All right, so now Derek's going to go ahead and tighten this up inside the cab, and then we'll go from there. All right, so you can see that Derek's back in the cab. You have to be somewhat of a contortionist to get in here and get these bolts back in and remove them, vice versa. Yeah, it does suck. So that's why we're making Derek do all the work on the Nightstick overlanding rig. So he's working on getting those 14 millimeter nuts back put on the bracket, and so he can snug it up against the firewall, and then we'll go ahead and we'll move forward with reinstalling the master cylinder. All right, now we're getting ready to put it back on. We've go ahead and we've got our gasket on. We've got it tightened up on the inside. Now Derek's going to go ahead and align this up and get this stabbed in there. Now be careful on your brake lines. You don't want to kink them and bend them and cause a brake line issue. Okay, so there we go. Now we've got that part. So let's go ahead and add our clamp there so that we can get that everything lined up.
just need to bolt it up.
Okay, so all right, I'll go ahead and I'll hand you the nuts and get it going. Right, your own joke.
Do they have a lock washer or something?
No, sir. All right,
I know
now.
a star pattern, just like lug nuts.
Okay. Remember, so the spec on these is, if you want to get technical on it and do it by the FSM, Toyota FSM, it's going to be 13 foot-pounds, or you can just use the old method of, the German method of good and tight.
Good and tight.
Good and tight. Okay, so the one thing that we have to, again, I mentioned this earlier in the video, is that the valve for the vacuum over here, that's where it is on the factory one, but they quit making the brake booster for the FJ80, so we had so the only one available now is one that fits the FZJ80. So now we've got to route this vacuum line over here instead of here. So that's what we're in the process of doing now.
3F-Es are getting
all right, there it is in all our glory. So again, we had to reroute this vacuum line from over here to here because the FJ brake booster, according to Derek, is no longer available. So we're using one that is supplied now that supersedes that old part number. So we went ahead and that's how we wanted it routed this way. And we decided to go, could go over here, but then, I don't know, we just didn't care for that a whole lot. So here we are. So now I would go ahead now, and then since you're here, and if you're doing this job on a 3F-E, again, this is going to be different than the FZJ80. So consider, and you're already under here, I would go ahead and replace this line as well to the intake manifold. That way you know that you're not going to have any vacuum leaks. This one here seems to be pretty hard and rigid, so it probably needs to be replaced. So all right, we went ahead and, like I was saying before, we probably need to change this line. So we went ahead and cut the line. The other one was really, really brittle, so we decided to go ahead and do that. Yeah, here's the line here. You can see it's really hard and it's not pliable at all. So we went ahead and took this off and replaced it with a new line and new clamps, and it should be good to go. Hang on a second. Yep, all clear. Fired up. All right, so we fired it up here, making sure that everything was out of the way. No tools. All right, how's that brake pedal feeling? All right. Feel good? All right. Okay. Good deal. So I hope that gives you some insight on how easy it is to do a brake booster swap on an FJ80 with a 3F-E. Now, you're probably wondering why I've got a different color shirt on and why the unicorn's behind me. That's because we didn't get any video footage of Derek doing his test drive, but he did report back and said the new brake booster performed flawlessly. If this video helped you out in doing your brake booster swap on your FJ80 with a 3F-E, be sure to give it a like and also smash that subscribe button. We'll see you next time.